Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's broadcast from the Marin Symphony. My guest this week is a member of the second violin section of the Marin Symphony, violinist Thomas Yee, and I'm delighted to welcome him to the show. Hi, Thomas, how are you?
I'm great, thanks.
It's good to see you. Tell us a little bit of what you've been up to these days before we go back in time a little while.
Oh yeah, sure. So, during this time, I had just gotten back from a long trip being in Korea. I was there for nearly 3 months, from
Aha.
September um, through uh, through February, and I had just during that time I had been teaching remotely for the past year. I've been doing that as well, online. I've gotten pretty savvy at doing that, and I've been able to sustain what I've been doing as a musician that way. And
Tell us what you were actually doing in Korea.
oh yeah,
Anything in
sure.
particular?
Yeah, while I was in Korea, I was visiting my wife's side of the family. So we stayed with her parents, which are based out in Seoul, and
Mhm.
just in the center of Seoul. And we had to, quarantine for 2 weeks. That was quite tough. We stayed at a like an Airbnb place. We were able to register our um, location that way, and it was pretty tough, but we were able to do that and get through that and spend time with her family, which was nice. And we uh, stayed indoors mainly, and we occasionally during the snowy winter we would go out and for walks and whatnot
Yeah,
along the river. That was nice. The Han River is a main river that goes through the center of Seoul.
yeah.
So it's a
Well,
very large one.
welcome back. Welcome back stateside. Um,
Thanks.
you and I have known each other since you were, if you remember, I think you must have been 18. I think you were a
Yeah,
freshman at the San Francisco Conservatory of
good
Music.
memory.
But that's been a while now. I won't hazard a guess as how many years that has been. But are you from the Bay Area, or did you come to San Francisco from further away?
So I was born and raised in Santa Barbara, and so I've been a Californian pretty much all my life, and I'm a product, I suppose, of California. All my schooling
Yeah.
as well has been done here, um, and I had a nice upbringing in Santa Barbara. I grew up um, in I grew up with a brother and sister, older than I am, and um,
Are
my
they
father.
musical?
Sorry.
Are they musical?
They are not. Actually, I'm kind of like the black sheep of the family.
So how
So,
did the violin get into your hands in the first place if it wasn't through as part of the family tradition, or at least in their older siblings? How did you get a violin?
oh yes, my brother had. Well, when I was 9, before that actually, my brother had been playing trumpet. He was 5 years older than I am now, and he joined a local youth symphony that I used to attend rehearsals for. Just as a kid, sometimes you would tag along, um, and I would sit in those rehearsals, like in the hall. This was back over at the Music Academy of the West,
Hmm.
which is this nice estate that was donated to become this like a musical grounds, and they have a summer festival that an educational summer festival that's fantastic, one of the world's best. And they during the year they used the grounds for the youth symphony rehearsals, and um, the I used to go to that hall, Abravanel Hall, which is now known as Han Hall, before it was remodeled. And during that, when I was there going to rehearsals, the concertmaster's father came up to me one day and asked me if I was interested in playing the violin. And
Really?
he asked, and then I told him, oh, well, it's kind of interesting. And I would be just, I would be curious about it. And then 1 week afterwards, he brought me a half-size violin to kind of experiment and play on, and that changed my life.
I'm very intrigued by that turn of events. Tell me, have you thought about, in retrospect, why he just seemingly by chance came up to you and say, "Hey, kid, you want to play the violin"? Do you know why that might have been?
Um, Actually, um, I think he's a very passionate person, um, and was always very embracing about a lot of things, and I've I think that he wanted to share that because he saw something kind of just in me. I was just well, most kids, they have a lot of energy, and I remember just kind of running around and talking to the other parents that are there, and um, like in the hall, and
Yeah.
yeah, and so I
Well,
think that, yeah, the conversation came up, and he had a small violin, and I think that um, for me nowadays, I realize that now more, being a parent myself, wanting to share music, and introduce that, and pique curiosity, and I think that gesture piqued my curiosity, and yeah, that curiosity changed my life. So
so that really lit a fire,
yes,
right?
yeah,
So you plunged in. You age 9, which is,
right.
that's a good age to start. Probably a little on the later side relative to a lot of string players, but you obviously
Yes,
plunged into the waves immediately.
I certainly did.
And here we are a number of years later with your own kids. Are you encouraging your own kids to play at this stage? How old do
Yeah,
you have
I
one?
have a 5-year-old daughter, and she just started violin. So it's been, and just a few days ago, she presented a few um, like folk songs for uh, her own elementary school class. So that was
We
a fun moment, and she introduced the songs, and yeah, it was kind of fun.
You're a proud papa now. Good for you. And good for her too.
Thanks.
Now you're a busy person in a number of ways, not just because you play in Marin Symphony and other orchestras around the Bay Area, but you have a very interesting other part of your life in business. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that side of your life.
Sure. Back in 2016, I had um, my daughter was just born, and I thought about, for a long time, I had been interested in like the instrument side um, of the violin. You know, just the lore, the history, the setup, the sound, the feel of the instrument, and altering things was always, and tinkering was always an interest of mine. Perhaps because I come from a background of folks that are in engineering, and I maybe that was something that I had an interest in, but never pursued. And I think that during that during my youth, I would go to various violin makers and talk to them and spend some time with them and see how things were being made, and how the instruments were being made, how they were being adjusted with a sound post movement, or how it could change the sound and all of that. Um, Changing of the brands of strings and fittings and all of that. So in 2016, I had a lot of time to formulate kind of the basis around a violin shop business. And so I started out really small, and started out with a few rental instruments, a few trade instruments, and pretty much since then, it's been a really big passion project. of mine. I've reinvested pretty much everything back into it, and I probably will just continue to do that and try to support myself as a um, pedagogue and performer, and just continue to expand on that. And so during that time, I've made a lot of friendships. Prior to 2016, founding Bay Fine Strings Violin Shop, I
Mhm.
um, had gotten more curious about lutherie. I don't make myself, but I uh, had commissioned a few makers, a bow maker back in 2012, a violin bow, and going through that whole process. The maker's name is Robert Morrow. He's based out in Washington, Port Townsend area. It's kind of known as a mecca of sorts of bow making in America. And that collaboration got me down the rabbit hole. And then in 2014, I commissioned a violin from Frank Ravatan, who is a luthier that had won many awards in violin making at the Violin Society of America. And he made a violin for me. We collaborated on it quite closely. So I took those experiences, and I started to do that now more. Like once I had started the shop, I did that. I've been doing that now on a grand scale, working with makers, talking with them, working on choosing wood, choosing other certain materials, having some philosophical ideas behind the project. And it's almost a bit kind of like how a musician would commission a piece, you know.
Right.
It's kind of, and for me, I've been able to do this on a grand scale. I find it's a very rewarding and satisfying for me to help other musicians and those in the community find another voice.
Yes.
So, and so it resonates really well with me. I feel it's a bit like, it is like playing music in a way, because everything has to be done in harmony.
That's
And
a really lovely observation, and also just to know that you've created this unusual, I suppose, tapestry to make a very fulfilling. It sounds like a very fulfilling career in life, and that's really lovely to hear. You have included very generously as part of this, and we're going to hear this separately, a musical offering, which I've already heard, and is quite unusual. I wonder if you could give us a little sneak preview of what you've recorded for us.
yeah, so I earlier back in late 2020, I had had on a schedule a solo violin recital for the Monterey Symphony. They have during the pandemic, they've had a solo instrumentalist recital series called the Balcony Series. And so I was deciding on, and they're live streamed, and I was deciding on a program of solo violin repertoire. And I had chosen a program quite demanding and rewarding at the same time, almost a labor of love for me program. And I had originally thought about coming up with an encore, making something up and doing that. But during that time, this was late 2020, I had come across the work on social media and on YouTube, the work of Charles Morey, who is a violinist that plays as the associate concertmaster of the Cincinnati Symphony.
Mm-hmm.
And his work was intrigued me and was brilliant. And I decided to reach out to him in commissioning a piece as an encore. But then when it started to develop more as we had conversations, and kind of what I was thinking about with the political situation at the time, and it developed much further in January when things got clearer for the country. And so with that in mind, we decided that America the Beautiful would be the kind of the underlying theme behind the piece. And he came up with a few revisions and drafts through me playing the piece and hearing him play it. We came up with this final piece, and I thought it was so brilliantly written, and decided that it should be on the program.
I'm so glad you did, and that's a really wonderful example
of yeah, I mean, having it be a world premiere, I think that it certainly merited that. It's by no means a piece for an encore. I think it was a great piece.
No, it's very thoughtful, thought-provoking, and original. So I'm so glad that you chose to include that for us as part of this broadcast.
And the title of the piece is called Improvisations on America and the Beautiful.
You want to explain that a little bit more?
So yeah, it's based on what we were talking about, like the type of political climate, and how our country in America is kind of looking more hopeful. And in recovery. I thought that the piece would be a way to express that hopefulness and recovery. And so the improvisations are kind of a reflection of that.
Right.
So there's like a heaviness to it, of trying to, of wanting to be able to get out of something, and then finding some hope at the end.
That definitely expresses that, and it's perhaps opposite, because that's where we're generally feeling these days, that there's a lot of optimism, and one of the things that we're optimistic about is a return to live music making one way or the other, and that will involve me being able to see you again and me be able to hear you play, and that makes me very happy. I'm really looking forward to that time. And in the meantime, I just want to thank you so much for being my guest today, and for sharing some really fascinating insights into your life and career in music. And looking forward to seeing you again very, very soon.
Likewise, I'm looking forward to making music with you and Marin Symphony.
Very much so. Thanks so much, Thomas. Let's see you soon. Thanks again. Bye.
Take care.